I'm officially back from Overland of America and that entire road trip. It was a lot of fun going out there. And camping along the way. If you guys missed some of those videos, make sure to double back and check those out, because what I'm talking about today will make a lot more sense if you've seen those videos. The purpose of today's video is to kind of discuss the road trip, what went well, more importantly, what did not go well, and the plans for moving forward with the understanding of what did not go well. So first thing that I want to modify on this truck, or add, if you will, and that's gonna be a wind deflector. So basically on my Eno roof rack, I do have a sunroof that pops, and unfortunately at like highway speeds, because of the roof rack and probably because of the GFC, there's so much like extra wind pressure there that honestly it almost feels like it's gonna break the clamp that holds the sunroof open, the sunroof glass. Was I saying windshield that whole time? Anyways, the sunroof glass. So what I want to do is look at either building my own or picking up a wind deflector to basically put all the way across here. So that way it will basically push the wind up and hopefully over the GSC. One, reducing wind noise, also hopefully improving fuel economy. It's not going to be drastic, but might do a little bit. And then also preventing or helping to take some pressure off of that clamp that holds the sunroof popped open. So that was like a mouthful, but basically I want to either design my own or possibly just pick up or pay for one outright, a roof rack wind. Why do I keep wanting to say windshield? A roof rack wind deflector. I'd love to do it myself. As you guys know on this channel, I love DIYing things and finding a cheaper way to do it. So if you guys have some ideas, I can obviously pick up like either a sheet of aluminum or plexiglass or like Lexan or polycarbonate, some sort of like ABS sheet, and cut it out to make the deflector itself. But where I'm struggling is making the mounting brackets. So I'd have to make obviously mounting brackets that would attach to that front roof rack bar, but then also be strong enough that it holds the wind deflector without hitting the top of the roof from the wind, obviously, because then it will probably scratch up all the paint on the top of the truck. And I've seen some people that add like weather stripping there, but even that, over miles and miles and miles of wind and friction, it still rubs away the paint. So the next thing that I need to change, this back glass here on the GFC is not a sliding or pop or tilt. It's a pane of glass that renders my truck cap slider window basically useless. And one thing I loved about my fiberglass shell was having that slider, so I could, one, let some airflow in if I was camping, you know, in the shell, but also it's nice to be able to grab stuff from inside the truck cap, or, you know, run cables like from my power station into the truck cap, so while I'm driving I can keep my laptop charged, that sort of thing. And with this solid pane of glass, I can't do anything with it. So the next thing I want to do is probably pull that pane of glass out, trace it on, again, some either like Lexan or plexiglass or something that I can cut here at home, trace it out, make a replica piece, and then basically cut out some sort of a square, and then take some more plexi or material and create little like shutters almost, or maybe just one, probably two, so they slide open like this, and take some like aluminum little U-channel track and somehow adhere that to the main piece or the main window, so that way I can put those two, we'll call them shutters, in. So you have the main piece with the square cutout, that'll be the window or the pass-through, and then you have the two shutters that are going to open and close, much like your regular truck cap. And those will slide within the aluminum track or the channel, U-channel, on top and on bottom. And then, you know, add like a little handle or something to be able to easily do that. I'm not so much worried about making that lockable, because obviously no one's sticking their hand in between there and crawling in between the truck and the GFC. So it doesn't necessarily need to lock, but it definitely, I'm tired of not being able to really sleep down here in summer months, or even like, excuse me, even in the winter, if I camp in here, the humidity or the condensation builds up from me breathing, and these aluminum panels, obviously there's no insulation, so they just build up a ton of moisture. So it's kind of a problem in every season. Summertime, it's just simply too hot with no ventilation and no opening windows for me to put a fan in. And then in the winter, it builds up condensation and just becomes a humid mess inside this camper shell. So having a slider window, great for many reasons. I could put a fan in front of it and it would be drawing in or pushing out fresh air all the time. Funny enough, actually, one of you guys just sent me a note from, it seems like I was reading it, it looks like he had just put his order in for a GFC V2 Pro. And I don't think GFC's announced this yet, but they're coming out with something called the GFC Max, which apparently across other upgrades is going to include a slider rear window. So unfortunately, I just missed the window with my GFC for the Molly panel for the V2 Pro, and I'm missing the window on the slider. And I think they're even gonna start including the awning props for the rooftop tent, which is my next piece. So as I'm sure you can see, I have my main window cover rolled up on all three sides. One thing that I really wish I'd had at Overland of America, because I had this thing popped 24/7, and it was obviously blaring sun the whole time. It would have been nice to have almost like an awning. So they make props now that you have little pieces here that go into the T-track, and then you actually have little eyelids. And I'm sure you guys have seen this, but they're basically like rods that prop open that window. So it actually comes out to here and is propped open. You can do the same thing with the side windows. So you have like a three-way little rain fly, or just, I would call it like a sunshade. I don't think GFC offers those props yet, but obviously there's a lot of companies out there that make them. So my thought process is to basically see if I can 3D print the little pieces that need to go in the T-track to hold the rod. And then because I have the V2 Pro, it's already got the eyelids for it. And then I just need to figure out who sells cheap, basically tent rods, to make them myself. I mean, honestly, apparently, again, with the GFC V2 Pro Max, I think is what they're calling it, it's gonna come with those, but I just hopped on the GFC website and it doesn't appear that they've started selling them yet. And I'm probably pretty confident that they're going to be more expensive than they really need to be. So with the tents being open the whole time, it was just making a lot of excess heat because I had all my panels removed on the inside, like the bed panels pushed away. So then at times the sun was beaming right through and hitting my fridge, my power banks, and everything in there was just getting super hot. So it'd be nice to have some shade. And speaking of power stations getting hot, this power station here, I'm kind of deciding is overkill for this truck camper. I don't know why, but I've used smaller power stations in this location with the same solar panel, and they stay charged up almost 24/7. Like the amount of sunlight that I get throughout a day, even a somewhat cloudy day, has always been enough to recharge whatever power station I have here. And this power station that I usually have here is always running my fridge 24/7. And also my lights for my GFC V2 Pro. Now, for whatever reason, this thing it's a bigger, larger power station that has more watt hours, but unfortunately, for some reason or another, I suck at math and I'm not, maybe there's something obvious I'm not understanding here, but it just could not charge fast enough to basically combat the amount of usage that it was getting, which did not change compared to other power stations. So this thing I may take out and keep as like a household, you know, oh crap kind of power station. Like if the power goes out, we can use this to run stuff and it won't be sitting in the back of a truck bed. I also feel like this thing had its internal fans running a lot of the time, again, because it was so hot at Overland of America. Like every time I came over, the fans in this thing were running, which could probably also be a reason why it was using power to cool itself down, thus taking away from the amount of charge it was getting. So I may use this more as like a household electricity blackout situation type of generator, or something along those lines, and throw a smaller power bank back in here because they worked. And this thing, I had to, at Overland of America, close my tent, which kind of took away from people being able to see my truck, and you know, the tent popped and see the inside and the outside of it. I had to close it because I needed the solar panel to be in the best angle possible to keep recharging this thing. So kind of a pain. And I'm not really sure why that happened, but I think I may take this out and revert back to a smaller power bank that just seemed to work before. Now, modifications aside, some just like truck stuff that I need to address. As I was driving it, I've noticed it happens typically between like 53 and 60 miles per hour. Especially if I have cruise control on, which maybe that'll tell you something and maybe it won't, but I've seemed to have like a stutter when I'm driving, and right in between that speed range, I could be very consistent on the throttle and it'll sometimes like shudder, like it's almost like a misfire, or I've never felt what a transmission slipping would be like, and I think I find that to be a weird scenario where the trans would be slipping, just cruising and not accelerating, or I don't know. It feels like the whole truck kind of like jars for a split second and then just continues on. And I'm not sure if that is transmission related, driveline related, or maybe it's a misfire and something is going on there. So if you guys have some advice on that, be curious to know. I noticed it about a year ago, and ever since then, I feel like it's been getting more and more common. So I'm not sure what that would mean, if that again is transmission related, or maybe I have like a bad injector or a bad coil pack, or I've replaced all the spark plugs in this thing somewhat recently, replaced the spark plug wires. I guess, you know, all these things could be bad, but anyways, if you guys have some ideas, let me know. Also, I've been getting this like clunk that I don't like, and I'm pretty sure it's coming from the back end. When I go over a kind of a jarring bump, it's somewhere back here and I need to figure it out. It's either the U-bolts on the leaf springs, or potentially the leaf packs already need new bushings, and maybe they were kind of cheap Rock Auto leaf packs, so maybe they just need new bushings already. That could be potential. If it's from the front, I do know I need to swap out my lower control arm bushings, but it is a huge pain to do that job, and especially without a bushing press. So I've kind of just been putting it off. I literally already have the replacement bushings, but I've been totally putting it off. So that is another thing that needs to get done on the truck if I want to keep traveling on these long distance trips and not having to worry about it, because what I don't want to have happen is be on that trip and then I have to pay a shop to do it, which is going to cost a lot more money, especially when I have the parts sitting in my garage at home. I guess I kind of skipped a beat there, but what went well with the truck is the fridge never skipped a beat, even though it was almost, or the power bank was almost about to let the fridge run out of power. The fridge just kept trucking on, kept all the food cold. That was never an issue. I actually had it set a little bit too low and I was almost freezing everything. What else went well? I love the new grill, although there's a million bugs from the road trip on the front. I need to wash this thing. Repainting this grill, I feel like just really cleaned up the whole front of the truck, as well as refinishing and polishing the headlights, like at nighttime driving, which I had to do a few times. I tried to drive during the day, but as you guys saw in the previous videos, camping didn't go as planned and I had to drive later into the night to find another camp spot, as well as the GFC. I mean, sliding window aside, that thing is super versatile. And I was actually even, I didn't record this video because I just wanted to get home, but I actually slept at another Cracker Barrel on my way back here. And it was one of those scenarios where I didn't want to pop the tent, so I ended up sleeping down below. And what I did was actually pull the mattress pads from the top of the GFC tent down below and just kind of like slept on those. It wasn't glamorous and it wasn't the most comfortable thing, but the GFC provided, which was very nice. And if I had that paired with a sliding window, it would have been so much more comfortable in there. What I ended up doing was kind of like cracking the side panels and only like half locking them, so that way there was a gap where fresh air could get in and out of the truck bed. And it would just be a lot nicer if I had a slider window to be able to pop a fan in front of. And as the night goes on, temps keep dropping and that fan is constantly pulling in fresh air. So just something I want to build out in the future. And so basically I'm asking you guys if you have some ideas for either the roof rack wind fairing, specifically more so the mounting brackets. I do have the Eno roof rack and they're more of a square roof rack bar. They are more of a square roof rack bar. So I want to fabricate some sort of a mount to effectively mount onto those, and then make it sturdy enough to hold that wind fairing at like highway speeds and whatnot. And then if you guys have some ideas on cutting out the new plexiglass slider window, I think I've got a good idea in my head. The only things I'm wondering about are adding, like adhering the U-channel, the aluminum U-channel to the plexiglass. I thought maybe using like pop rivets would be a good way to do it, but obviously would love to hear what you guys have in mind for that. And with that being said, stay tuned for the next video. I've got another camping trip. Morgan and I are gonna probably head out and do a little overnight this weekend. And then I'm gonna start basically planning and scheming on some of those modifications to the GFC and go from there. See how things work out, make changes as needed. That's kind of just all part of the process, and you live and you learn. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I love you all. I hope you enjoyed all of the road trip videos getting out to Jay, Oklahoma for Overland of America, and look forward to the next camping video, and I will see you next time. Keep elevating, my friends. Love you. Thumbs up, comments below if I didn't already say that. It really does help the channel grow. And I'll see you in the next one. Adios.